Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Alien Force Retrospectives. And today we're going to be looking at episode 42 of Ben 10 Alien Force, The Secret of Chromastone. And in the beginning of the episode, it opens with Gwen and Kevin rushing Ben to a Mr. Smoothies. Why? He has a cold. This one is not like the one he caught in Side Effects. Like, he's still sneezing, he's still stuffed up, he's obviously not at 100%, but while Ben in Side Effects was just so sick, he was pale and his eyes were kind of sunken in, his nose was runny. Here, it just seems to be he's stuffed up and he's stuffed up and feeling a little lousy. As such, there pretty much Kevin's way of curing him is just with an old family remedy, and the smoothie is just so that he can down it without hurling it up. However, just as Ben starts taking it, they get company as a ship lands right next to Mr. Smoothies, a actually familiar ship, and so the trio go to investigate, and it turns out it's Tetrax. It's like the design is just slightly different to match Alien Force, but it's still him. It's still the same suit, and I think they got the same voice actor back, which I'm glad for. However, Ben doesn't really have enough time to reminisce with him, but the first thing Tetrax does when he steps off his ship is just grab Ben and say, "Give me Chromastone." Gwen and Kevin think that Tetrax is just being too hostile, and so they try attacking him, but Ben is just wondering what the heck's going on, but Tetrax doesn't explain anything as he immediately grabs the Omnitrix and selects and tries to turn Ben into Chromastone, but again, thanks to vengeance of Vilgax, Ben no longer has access to Chromastone, so he instead turns into Diamond Head. However, Tetrax says that he can still sense Chromastone in him, so while Gwen and Kevin are knocked aside, he pulls out what looks like a tuning fork and then uses it on Ben. And it pretty much causes him to fall apart. This bits and pieces of Diamond Head start falling to the ground, start falling apart, only there is something underneath it. And that something is, in fact, Chromastone, like looking exactly how he did before, except now his eye is white, and of course, the Omnitrix symbol isn't there. And yeah, the trio's wondering, Gwen and Kevin are wondering what's going on, but it turns out that, yeah, Ben is still alive, he's just in pieces. Likewise, Chromastone seems to be aware, as when he sees Tetrax, he asks, "Is it time?" And Tetrax says yes, and then he pulls out a red crystal. When we later learn that this is the crystal that he had stolen for Vilgax at one point. That was explained in Secret of the Omnitrix. And so he gives it to Chromastone, and suddenly Chromastone's body, his pink crystal parts, suddenly turn red, and the crystal on his head grows longer, and suddenly Chromastone, surprisingly, flies away, which even Ben's surprised about. As such, still wondering why Tetrax attacked them, Gwen restrains him, and Kevin is able to put Ben back together, albeit sloppily. But it's enough so that when Kevin turns him back, he's fine. And so Ben, Gwen, and Kevin just are questioning Tetrax and ask him what the heck's going on. So they let him go, and Tetrax apologizes for why he was so hasty, but there is in fact a reason why. It turns out that Chromastone is kind of the only thing that can save his world. For those, if you forgot Secret of the Omnitrix, and the episode does relay the backstory again, when Tetrax was younger, he was just a bounty hunter who worked for anybody, and that last person he worked for under that mantra was Vilgax. And Vilgax hired him to steal a crystal, a very powerful crystal that his home planet Petropia used, but Vilgax... And so when Vilgax got the crystal, he's used the crystal to destroy Petropia to set an example. So, and of course Tetrax goes over that, but it turns out that rather recently, Tetrax discovered something. While going through Petropia's remains, he found what was kind of an altar. And the altar pretty much said that the crystal that Vilgax used, it wasn't just a weapon. It turns out it was kind of like a backup copy of Petropia and its people.
pretty much if anything were to happen to Petropia, pretty much this crystal could be used to fix it when Petropia's 3 suns were aligned, and on top of that, and apparently it can only be used by Chromastone, and at this point the 3 suns are aligning, so Tetrax managed to steal the crystal away from Vilgax, and so he went to Earth to get Ben. And I'm going to stop the summary here because I kind of have an opinion, because I'm kind of confused on this, because apparently Tetrax says that Chromastone's complete existence is to pretty much protect Tetrax's people, the Petrosapiens, and to that I say, what? Like, here's my, I don't really understand this. Like, the way he talks, it sounds like Chromastone in general is his sole reason for existing is that, to which I respond with, isn't Chromastone like a sample of an alien species? Why would Ben's specific sample of this alien species, the Crystal Sapiens, be what's needed on the top? Be what's needed to restore it, and on top of that, and if that's not the case, maybe is it like just and on top of that, if that's the case, couldn't he have just gone to any Crystal Sapien? Like, he could have done this, or was the DNA for the Crystal Sapien in Ben's Omnitrix specifically from the this one specific Crystal Sapien that was used to save the universe, to save Petropia. Like, I don't really understand it. It kind of confuses me a little. Like, again, the way he says it makes it sound like Chromastone was just created for this purpose, even though Chromastone's a member of an alien species, and even in one of the video games you saw Chromastone's home planet. And again, so this actually kind of confuses me a little bit about this. This confuses me quite a bit. And again, is his entire species like this, or is it just Ben's specific Chromastone? I don't know. It confuses me, and they don't explain it. It could be the latter, from what I can gather. So there's that. But on the other hand, well, kind of an upside of this is that it actually kind of does explain something minor, a minor hiccup than in a previous episode, Vengeance of Vilgax, when at the end of Vengeance of Vilgax, when Vilgax destroyed Ben as Chromastone, it looked like Ben was destroyed, and suddenly Ben reformed into Diamond Head. That kind of would explain why he went from Chromastone to Diamond Head, because if Chromastone was created specifically to revive the Petrosapien race, it would make sense that it would revive Ben as Diamond Head, because that was his whole purpose, to save Petrosapiens. And since Diamond Head's DNA was in the Omnitrix, it pretty much rebuilt him as Diamond Head. So I don't know. I think that would explain that. But I have my own little problems with that. It's nothing that ruins the episode, but it does make me wonder what the heck's going on. But either way, pretty much that's the reason Chromastone was able to fly. So that's pretty much what. Either way, Tetrax attacked Ben to get Chromastone out, and so Chromastone, with the crystal now inside him, is flying to the remains of Petropia when the 3 stars align, so he can restore using the crystal's power. However, while Tetrax is explaining this, they notice a shooting star coming down. The group is confused by it until the star lands, and it turns out it's a Vilgax. And why is he here on Earth? He wants his property back. And I'm going to say this right now. Vilgax in this episode, while not being the best written, it's him at his most basic, but I think that's really a good thing. Vilgax, throughout this becomes a villain in this episode because he wants his crystal back, the one that he had Tetrax steal. That is his whole purpose for getting that's all he wants. He just wants his stuff back. It's just the lengths he's going to, and again, it's something that really amazing, but it is just but honestly, I think this would make sense. When it comes to Vilgax, he's power hungry, and while he's willing to take anything from him, its odds are, because of that same status, he won't want anything taken from him either. He takes from other people, but he doesn't like being taken from, which
makes sense, and the fact that and even something as minor as his crystal, which odds are he doesn't use that much. I think it would make even something as minor as that would cause him to go nuts as he attacks the group, demanding to know where the heck the crystal is. So the group tries fighting him off, but he's still too powerful, and he manages to. So Kevin is able to distract Vilgax by kicking up a cloud of dust that allows them to escape into a sewer that I don't know how they did it because for some reason the Mr. Smoothie's in the desert and he was caught stirring up dust in the middle of the desert. So I don't know, maybe they ran over to Mr. Smoothie's. I don't know, but they managed to get away. But unfortunately, Ben sneezing gets Vilgax to catch up with them, and they try holding him off, but Vilgax still manages to get through and get to Tetrax, demanding to know where the crystal is. And Tetrax says, "I'll never tell you. It's no, you'll never get it back." And Kevin says, "Yeah." And Kevin says, "Yeah. And even if you did know, it's halfway. Chromastone took it halfway across the galaxy." And with that knowledge, Vilgax flies off to go get it. As such, Ben ends up getting on Kevin's case, and Tetrax says he has to go after him. And the trio says they're going with him, whether he likes it or not. In the meantime, Chromastone has managed to use the crystal to completely restore Petropia. Well, without its cities, and I know there were cities because we saw them in the flashbacks in Secret of the Omnitrix. And so he flies down to the planet, is about to use the crystal to restore Petropia's people, but Vilgax manages to get there and just knocks him down. And he just wants the crystal on his head, and so Chromastone keeps trying to fight back as best as he could, but Vilgax has already proven that he's stronger. And Chromastone is just begging, pleading, please. He keeps saying, please. It's for millions of lives, but Vilgax pretty much says, no, I don't care. I want my stuff back. I paid for it. I don't give a dang. I don't give a damn what you're trying to do. I want my crystal. Which I think is nice. I like this. It's not, again, I don't want to go, I'm not going to say that this is like the best written Vilgax I've seen. No. But at least it feels like something that Vilgax would do. This all feels like what Vilgax would do. He is the guy that would go to such lengths if you like stole something of his. And even if you said, "Oh, I needed to save people," Vilgax would pretty much say, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I still don't care. Give it back." And when you said no, I like that. I like that. I like that, and that's pretty much what he's doing. Even though Sugalite, damn it, I'll explain that later. Even though Chromastone is trying to restore his entire trying to restore all of Petropia, Vilgax does not give a damn, and it might help that he was the one that destroyed it in the first place. He just wants his crystal back, to the point where when he overpowers Chromastone, he just rips the crystal off of his head. At that point, the group manages to arrive. They try fighting him off, but Vilgax traps Tetrax in a red crystal. But unfortunately, that was really all the power the crystal had left. So at that point, Vilgax just says, "What a waste." Using this to bring back a dead planet. And he just throws it aside and flies off. But in the meantime, Kevin manages to bust Tetrax out of his prison, and Chromastone is still alive, but unfortunately he's weakened. He manages to grow another crystal, but unfortunately because of his battle with Vilgax, he doesn't have enough power to restore Petropia's people, so he rips the crystal off his head and gives it to Ben, telling him that it's up to him. So at this point, he ends up fading away, and so Ben decides, well, if he can't do this, I can. And so Ben decides that he's going to have to do this. So Ben goes Diamond Head, climbs up to the tallest mountain, and manages to use the crystal's power to restore all of Petropia's people. And for some reason they're all guys, and I know they're all guys because they all have the same body type as a guy. And they all seem to be wearing Ben's jumpsuit. I don't know, maybe that was a side effect. But Ben manages to, and it turns out Ben also managed to save Chromastone, who reveals that his name is Sugalite, which again kind of gives credence to the theory that maybe it was just this one specific Crystal Sapien that was the savior. Like I don't know, maybe I'm just gonna go headcanon here. Maybe this one specific Crystal Sapien was what could have been a guardian of Petropia, and at one point he died with his DNA with his own genetic pattern on the crystal, but before he died, his genetic sample was put on the Omnitrix. So I guess you could say that, but they don't. But either way, but But again, Sugarlight thanks Ben for saving Petropia, and he even says that he and all Crystal Sapiens are in debt. Ben soaks in the victory as all the Petro Sapiens are cheering for him, and so Tetrax drops him back on Earth with Kevin's car intact and actually parked, because Vilgax may be evil, but there's a difference between being an evil and being a dick. And Tetrax says that he wants to go back to his own people, but first he wants to take care of Vilgax. The group says, well, he's probably invincible. Tetrax says not so sure. And it turns out at the end of the episode that Vilgax somehow caught Ben's cold. And I admit, that's just a funny thought. You just see him in his palace sneezing away while Siphon brings him tissues. It's funny. It's just rather funny, so. So on the whole, what do I think of this episode? I honestly think it's just fun. I like it. I like that we get some follow-up. I feel like this episode kind of would fit right in the classic series. It's nice to see Tetrax again and actually do see him kind of be consistent with his previous appearances. On top of that, I kind of just like seeing Vilgax as a villain. I like seeing more with the lore with Chromastone, because we don't see him again in the series. In fact, they say online that Ben got Chromastone back from this experience, but I don't know. You still don't see him. We see him again. I mean, he makes an appearance in Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, but even Ben admits that he didn't know if that would work. Maybe he unlocked him again. I don't know. I don't care. Okay, I care a little, but I don't know. I still think that Ben still doesn't have access to Chromastone. I think he unlocked him later, but I think he unlocked him again later. I don't know. But either way, I think it was just a nice, fun episode. I liked kind of the urgency of some of that. I liked seeing Vilgax as actually kind of resembling how you would expect him to be in the classic series. I liked seeing Tetrax. I liked seeing this follow-up to Tetrax's backstory from Secret of the Omnitrix. I liked that. It did kind of have some nice answers. It had some nice action. I really did enjoy seeing that. And while I kind of do want to go nuts with the whole Ben is sick and that should affect his aliens I don't really care as much in this episode as I did in Primus. As while in Primus, those were completely different people whose their own physical appearances and in their normal forms would affect their aliens. I think in this case, Ben wasn't so sick that he was pale, his eyes sunken in, or had a runny nose. He just was stuffed up and feeling lousy. That was the extent of it. Otherwise, he seemed to be perfectly fine. He was still able to do physical labor. He wasn't shivering. He wasn't pale. As such, I'm more forgiving of that with this one. And even then, they still show some of the side effects of the aliens, like Ben as Diamond Head when he sneezes, shoots Diamond. Humongosaurus somehow blows out a giant puddle of snot right from his mouth when he sneezes, and Echo actually sneezes echoes. That was cool, at least. Nothing great, but cool. I did also, again, while I do kind of still have that annoyance with kind of how would Chromastone work in this type of scenario, I do kind of like that I do kind of like more expansion on at least the crystal that we saw the crystal that Tetrax stole. Like, originally it was just a generic weapon that Tetrax stole for Vilgax, and he used to destroy his planet. But I like that there actually is kind of some backstory behind it. That it wasn't just a very strong power source, but it pretty much acted like a Noah's Ark for Petropia, which I like. It was rather nice. I liked that. Again, I think my biggest problem with it would be kind of trying to explain how Ben's Chromastone specifically was that, and I think you could, and I will admit that you probably could explain some of it, but they don't in this episode, so that's kind of a blow against it. It does kind of unnerve me a little that apparently all of Tetrax's people were guys, even though we know that there are women and children that died on Petropia. Or you could make an excuse that perhaps that was just on this specific part of the planet. But again, why did they all look like Ben? Why were they all wearing Ben's jumpsuit? I don't know. Dog over there, sorry. And I did kind of... And what else was there? I don't know. And probably some stupidity on Kevin's part, very much. But again, it did have some more humor to it. I liked seeing Vilgax at least somewhat resembling. I liked the action. There were still some nice jokes. Nice jokes, even when Ben was sick, and when they were wondering how Ben could be sick as a silicon-based life form, which even Tetrax points out, I never gotten a cold. But again, maybe he probably was carried over from when he was human, so I don't know. Either way, at the end of the day, Secret of Chromastone is a nice, fun episode. It was nice to see Chromastone again, even if it wasn't really him. Nice action. Overall, just a nice, fun episode. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this one. I'm Samuel Johnson. I thank you for watching, and tune in next week where I finally answer a critique with Omniverse that I've been promising to address ever since Dark Star Rising. So, see you then.